Hi, it's Joan. So we're watching The Acolyte, Season 1, Episode 5, Night. The last episode's ending was insane, so I'm very excited for this one. A reminder that you can find the unedited version of this reaction on my Patreon, and let's go. I would love to see an alternate universe where May was able to successfully hand herself in and see what happened next. Okay, we have Pip. What's with the red sand? He's good, whoever he is. Jesus. I mean, he is defeating many Jedi. Oh my god. I don't like the teeth design on his mask. He didn't do anything. May, if you want to help your sister, time to act. Oh dear. I don't think you can run from this man successfully. I wondered where he was. So he was going to kill Osha. I guess Maze, he knows Maze's band failed him because he killed Kanaka himself.
Don't remember me.
I mean, you are wearing a weird mask, so no.
I sense something familiar.
Ooh. Alright, May, what are you gonna do? Come on. I understand the hesitation, but this is not a time for it. Oh lord.
You're under arrest for the murder of Master Indara. The murder of...
The protocol does not help here.
Show your face. And let you read my thoughts. No.
Interesting. God, he's either going to sneak up behind him or he's actually after Osha or May or someone, so he's going to just leave this fight because he's got more important things to do with his time.
What is he? Yord?
I don't know.
Keep moving, please.
He doesn't follow the...
Okay, well done, but I'm afraid the big bad is coming.
She's a loyal pupil.
Oh. I mean, I know running's not exactly an option here, but it's what I'd have recommended. He's after May. The weird creatures we fought earlier. And just run. Run, run, run. Straight through the trees.
We go slowly.
Oh, okay. Sneak, sneak, sneak. Straight through the trees.
Coward. You were going to betray me.
Forgive me, Master. I was...
It gets in your head.
You've always...
Like, May, I was like, is she gonna join the fight? She's gonna run. Running distracts him at least. If you go back, what can you do?
Follow me.
Oh, we're using those things against him. Okay, no, this is a plan. We have a plan. Distract him with as many creatures as possible. Good girl! No, sweetheart. She was surviving a really long time. I hope she'd make it. And you announce your... Oh, it is the dude. Just a kid.
Was
That's
that
how.
its name? You brought her here.
He did. I don't necessarily agree with bringing Padawans here, but Jesus Christ.
Not very Jedi of you.
His emotions. Poor sweet Jackie.
I have no name.
He's not a
A
Sith.
Jedi like you might call me Sith.
Okay, maybe he is a Sith. But he's not, like, officially,
I risk
I guess.
discovery.
The freedom to wield my power the way I like. Without having to answer to Jedi like you.
To be honest, until you started sending a minion, sorry May, to murder Jedi, they had no idea you were out there. So you were pretty damn free. Like, obviously, yes, if they'd got word that someone was using the Force and it wasn't a registered Jedi, they'd have gone running to investigate. But you made it this far without them doing it.
Aw, look at you two. Right back where you started.
What does that mean, right back where you started? Because with a blade to her throat was not right back where they started. Oh, and another one that was sweet. This is brutal. I'm not entirely sure stunning May was the right call, because I don't know how I suppose she could have got back to her ship and escaped. Fuck. So they could have ended him right here, but that's not the Jedi way. It's not the right way.
I love you.
Oh. Come on, creatures, get him! Get him long enough for us to run, at least. Eat him, please!
Why did he say that?
Mate, oh, Osha, sweetheart, right now is not the best time. Now we have to get away from this place.
Why did he say I shouldn't trust you?
Because he hasn't told you everything about that night. But sweetheart,
Please, Osha.
time to run right now, okay? I think May might do the explaining. Did it not actually work on her? She just pretended. Are they gonna be face to face for the first time? I haven't even begun to process the fact that two characters I was just sort of beginning to know and like died. And what happened to the master dude? Has he been torn to shreds by insects? Giant insects?
The Jedi got what they deserved. Those Jedi were more my family than you ever were. Have you forgotten who we are?
She doesn't know everything
come
you know.
from?
And think of the last time she saw you
They
burning.
invaded our home. They've brainwashed you. They've turned you against me.
You've been brainwashed as well,
It's
May.
okay, Osha.
You did start a fire that would have killed her. So, like, tell her your side of the story at best,
I can
please.
help you return. Please choose me. Choose us.
Explain to her why she should. As far as she knows, you're just a murderer. Who loves her, apparently. That's all she knows.
All we have is each other now.
But if you're a murderer, how could she choose you?
You don't do this. You did this to yourself. You followed a false master. So did you.
Tell her your side of it then.
Leave Soul out of this. He led you nowhere.
Less fighting, more talking, please. May, what she thinks happened is quite obvious. So if you think something different happened, tell her. I mean, now you've knocked her unconscious, but unless she's faking. Very fancily done. Of course, the bitch survived. And doesn't even look worse for wear. Is May gonna switch with Osa so she can get back into the heart of the Jedi? She did, didn't she? She swapped.
Let me help you.
This is clearly May. So Osa would still be asking you questions. I know Sol has just had an extremely traumatic day and, like, you know, nearly been knocked unconscious, etc. Lots seen people die, but surely he's got to be suspicious. Basil, I think, can sniff that it's the wrong person, but surely Sol's suspicious. He knows that's Osha. He wanted a new acolyte. I still feel like my brain is trying to process and catch up with everything that just happened and how many characters died. I'm quite relieved we hadn't. These episodes are fairly short and there haven't been that many of them, because otherwise I would be bawling my eyes out at that many people dying. At least 2 of whom were named characters that I liked. But thankfully it's been a fairly short season, so I'm not, like, emotionally attached to them. I'm more just like, am I watching Game of Thrones with the level of people just being murdered left, right, and centre? Definitely a good and chilling way to establish the evil master's evilness. I'm really good at words. Having him kill Jackie, a young Padawan, a kid who's very sweet that we've seen, and kind of that being the moment of revelation that he all along was her friend. Like, thinking about it, I did see tweets that were like, oh, I didn't know Jason from The Good Place was so hot, but then I just kind of assumed they meant with, like, the long hair as he was, like, running around being, like, kind of sweet, because I thought he was always quite attractive. So, like, I'm now like, oh no, that's what they meant. But yeah, so he not only has been her master, but he's also been, like, her only confidant, the only person she really had. And not that she particularly, like, actually seemed to trust him when he was the, like, friendly helper dude, or, like, she didn't trust him all the way, she didn't rely on him all the way, but she was, like, kind of the one person she had that was other than her master, that it seemed that she would see a lot of and that she could depend on and she could be a little bit more vulnerable and honest with. And even that was a deception. Even that was him making sure he knew everything that was going through her brain and was fully in control of her. It is very scary. And now he has Osha, which is terrifying, because the fact that he didn't just, like, finish her off, he, you know, covered her with his jacket, like, because she was, you know, maybe she was cold. He obviously knows that's Osha. If he didn't instinctively know it was Osha, he saw the tattoo. But I'm guessing he wanted an acolyte, and he's gonna try and make Osha into his acolyte, because he can now tell her whatever May knows about what really happened that night, because obviously the Jedi are not telling everything that happened. He can tell her his side of things and try and push her to the darkness. I don't think Osha will go dark easily. I think every single person has some capacity, if they are pushed to the extreme, to join the dark side, to go evil. We all have the ability to give in to the darkness within us. But having just watched him, like, murder Jedi willy-nilly, including one that was, like, she trained with and that was her friend, and one who was a Padawan who she knew was just a kid, like, I wouldn't easily be like, even if I agreed with him, even if he were to tell me, actually the Jedi killed all of your family and they brainwashed May. May didn't even start the fight. Like, May did nothing or something, you know, whatever he says to her about what really happened that night might turn her against the Jedi, but it wouldn't turn me to him. It would just turn me against the Jedi, potentially. But yeah, he's not someone I would want to be alone with, because he is very powerful and very scary. So I am scared for Osha going forwards, not only because she's physically in danger, but also emotionally and mentally. She's no doubt going to get a lot of very distressing information that's going to make her completely reevaluate how she sees her entire life, her entire history, and she's not going to be getting that in a place where she's very safe, emotionally or physically, so that's stressful. Now, if Sol doesn't catch on to the fact that that is not Osha quickly, it's going to frustrate me. I will give him the asterisk, the credit, the allowance for the fact that he has just been through an incredibly traumatic fight to the death. He has just witnessed his Padawan die, other Jedi that he was close with die, not being able to save them. He will also potentially be thinking that Osha is acting a bit funny because she's been told not to trust him, and so she's all a bit suspicious of him, and maybe that's why she's acting off. But I hope he gets suspicious of her quickly, unless she starts to do a better job of acting like Osha. Like I mean, she was pitching her voice more like Osha. She wasn't doing a terrible job of being Osha, but the Osha we know would be a lot more, like, once they were back on the ship, she would be like, what happened? Why shouldn't I trust you? What did he mean? What was he referring to? And maybe May will do that now that they're there, but it's going to be very interesting to see. Now, obviously, Basil made it. Basil survived with Pip. Hopefully we can revive Pip. That's one soul lost that we can revive. And his sniffing, he's aware, I think, this is not Osha, that this is somebody different. So if Soul doesn't figure it out, maybe he can. But the question is, does May want to get all the way back to the Jedi Temple and be, like, inside to wreak havoc? Or is she just wanting to continue her own personal vendetta and personal vengeance because she now looks at it as Soul not only is responsible for whatever happened that night, but that he has also brainwashed her sister. Now, I have my own issues with the Jedi, with the system of taking kids in and raising them and they can't, like, telling them they can't have any attachments because inevitably when they form them, not telling them how to train them, being forbidden from having families or whatever. Like, it's a decision I feel like you should make to join that order when you're an adult and you're able of making that decision, but you can't because of, I understand why they, like, it's a complicated issue basically, so it's not black and white. But what frustrated me a little bit was May didn't try to say the Jedi killed our family and you trust them or whatever it is, because if May, her only issue with the Jedi is that they came and wanted to take them away, it wouldn't justify the level of her outrage and anger, because they could quite easily have just taken Osha and then she could have stayed with her family. Though I suppose they're not allowed to practice using the Force, so I don't know what would have happened. Obviously, again, there probably are arguments to be had that for the Jedi to say, oh, we are the only people who know how to use the Force correctly, everybody else who if you want to use the Force tough, you either have to not use it or do it the way we do it, is quite singular-minded and corrupting, and there definitely are arguments to be made about whether that is right or wrong, basically. But I do think the reason the Jedi do that, it is partly because they do think they know best and they are superior, and ultimately that is part of what will lead to their downfall. I don't think it makes the Jedi wholly bad or terrible, but I do think that their belief that they are the only right way is part of why they don't change and evolve with the times and don't see the danger coming until it hits them. But obviously the argument is the Force is something that has such a great potential for being used for ill and darkness that if you just let anybody use it however they want, they could quite easily become an unstoppable force of evil. But at the same time, I don't know that kidnapping with consent, but still taking every single child that has Force ability and training them to your way of life is quite controlling and quite weird, and quite, in the real world, we would call it cultish and weird. So it does have kind of, there are lots of grey areas with the Jedi that this show is definitely touching on, and I think that is the nature of any show, of any world, fictional or otherwise. The more you develop it, the more you have this world and spend time in it, the more you are going to look at it and go, okay, well, when we first watched the first Star Wars films, admittedly the Jedi were a long gone organization with a few people left, so you'd hear about them and you'd imagine these, oh my god, these Jedi Knights and how amazing they were. And then when you have the prequels and you can kind of see the Jedi in decline, you might discuss what led to the decline, but the longer you spend with it, the more time you spend dissecting these details, the more you're going to start seeing the grey areas, and they are there. So I wish May had said something to Osha on not just they brainwashed you, but first they killed our family and then they brainwashed you, because from the way May is acting, she clearly, and the fact that she has said to, the first, I keep wanting to call her Daphne because she's Daphne Keane. First Jackie said, and you set the fire that killed your family. And then Osha said, you need to pay for your crimes. I can't remember if Osha outright said you killed our family, but she definitely, made it clear she thinks she did. To say something along the lines of, after they did something, but instead she was just like, love me. Oh, what? They brainwashed you. Fine, I'm going to leave you here and go. So this was a very, very stressful episode. The reveal, him murdering the baby and then just standing there, very chilling. For May to realise that all those times she thought she was talking to someone that she could be a little more open with, was all with the Master, quite terrifying. And now where we've left things off, it's very terrifying. So this was a brutal episode. Reminder that you can find the unedited version of this reaction on my Patreon. Thank you so much for watching.